Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Canal Algérie's Nightly News. On to the headlines. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, returns to the homeland after a 3-day state visit to the Republic of Slovenia. On the last day of the visit of the President of the Republic to Slovenia, new fruitful partnerships are established to foster bilateral cooperation within the framework of the distinguished bilateral relations. Algeria and Slovenia in full alignment on just causes and global issues, and a new era of strategic cooperation based on economic complementarity kicks off. From the UN Security Council, Algeria calls for a ceasefire in the lifting of the blockade on Gaza Strip and at least 84 new mortars in Gaza following a brutal attack by the Zionist aggressor. Welcome back. We begin with Night's top story as the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, arrived to the homeland after a 3-day state visit to the Republic of Slovenia at the invitation of his Slovenian counterpart, Nataša Pirc-Musar. Upon arrival to Houari Boumediene International Airport, the head of state was received by the Premier, Nadir Al-Arbawi, and the Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the PNA, the Army General Said Shingriha, in addition to the Principal Private Secretary to the Presidency of the Republic, Boualem Boualem. After listening to the national anthem, the head of state reviewed the detachment of the Republican Guard who paid him the honors. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, concluded this Wednesday his 3-day visit to the Republic of Slovenia at the invitation of his Slovenian counterpart, Nataša Pirc-Musar. At the 3rd day of this visit, the President of the Republic, accompanied by the Slovenian President, Nataša Pirc-Musar, visited the prestigious Lipica stud farm, one of the oldest and most famous stud farms in Europe and in the world. Founded in the 16th century, the Lipica stud farm is renowned for its performances and international competitions, showcasing the exceptional skills of its horses. At this center, which is considered a cultural heritage site, the head of state attended individual and group equestrian demonstrations that illustrate the history of horseback riding in the country. On site, the President of the Republic received thorough explanations about the activities of the establishment and expressed his admiration for the demonstrations, which highlighted the shared values between Algeria and Slovenia, particularly in preserving identity and fostering creative spirit. The head of state then signed the center's guest book. And received a symbolic gift to mark the occasion. The President of the Republic Abdelmajid Tebboune also visited Innovation Artificial Intelligence Center in the Slovenian capital Ljubljana. The head of state inquired on the latest projects in intelligent systems developed in this center, considered as one of the leading ones in Slovenia. The visit of the President is in line with the new orientation of Algeria towards knowledge economy. President Abdelmajid Tebboune's visit to Slovenia marks the start of a new era of strategic partnership in strengthening bilateral relations, reflecting alignment and shared views on key political issues, particularly the Palestinian and Sahrawi causes. Manal Maafa starts us off tonight.
A new axis is taking shape in the Eastern European countries, starting with Slovenia, offering a model for mutually beneficial relations beyond traditional frameworks, especially amid shifting global dynamics. President Abdelmajid Tebboune has headed to Slovenia at the head of a high-level delegation. Slovenia represents both a strategic extension of Algeria's vital space and a partner with shared historical struggles and political choices. The visit has opened all doors to cooperation between Algeria and this key bloc in Eastern Europe.
المجال مفتوح لعلاقات قوية وطيدة لتخليها نموذجية بين دولتين، دولة أوروبية ودولة مغاربية إفريقية.
An important and historic step towards closer ties with Eastern European countries and the Adriatic Sea region, particularly given the shared economic interests.
فيما يخص تمويل جمهورية سلوفينيا الصديقة بالغاز الجزائري، فنحن حاليا من أكبر الممولين لأوروبا فيما يخص الغاز الطبيعي، وطبعا الامتداد من إيطاليا نحو سلوفينيا ونحو دول أخرى شيء طبيعي، وإحنا مستعدين للاستجابة الإيجابية لكل طلبات نتاع سلوفينيا فيما يخص الطاقة.
Our countries have long-standing relations of friendship. Economic cooperation between us dates back to the Yugoslav era, and this will strengthen our partnership and collaboration.
Algeria and Slovenia, the non-permanent members of the UN Security Council, meet in a diplomacy that favors a brighter path to global peace.
فيما يخص القضايا الدولية لا يسعني إلا أن أشكر مواقف جمهورية سلوفينيا، مواقف النزاهة والشجاعة بالنسبة لفلسطين، كما أشكر فخامة الرئيسة على موقف سلوفينيا فيما يخص ما يجري في الصحراء الغربية.
Regarding the Sahrawi issue, Slovenia's stance is clear. It supports finding a solution that respects both parties in accordance with UN resolutions, while taking into account the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination.
إعلان مشترك بين حكومة الجمهورية الجزائرية الديمقراطية الشعبية وحكومة جمهورية سلوفينيا.
President Tebboune's visit to Ljubljana reflects a strong mutual desire to defend shared interests as Algeria continues to diversify its international partnerships. High-level meetings with various Slovenian state institutions highlighted the deep goodwill between the two countries, bound by historic ties that date back to the Yugoslav era. At the historic Bardo Castle, President Abdelmajid Tebboune was welcomed as the guest of Slovenia with a warm and heartfelt reception extended to him and his accompanying delegation. The atmosphere reflected the spirit of friendship and cooperation that defines Algerian-Slovenian relations. Along the Algerian-Slovenian axis and beyond, Algeria in recent years successfully redirected its foreign policy toward major economic blocs in Africa, Eastern Europe, and emerging Asia, where the future truly lies. Wherever President Abdelmajid Tebboune went, the national community is always among the first ones to welcome him.
In the light of the President of the Republic's visit to Slovenia, the outlines of strategic cooperation and partnership are becoming clear, marked by the signing of several cooperation agreements and memorandums of understanding in key sectors, chief among them trade, industry, investment, and energy. Salila Baraman and Sonia Gassi with the full story.
A strategic launch of a new era of strong partnership and economic integration. It is a step taken by Algeria and Slovenia to lay the foundations for a robust phase in the course of their bilateral relations.
الجزائر اليوم هو ثالث اقتصاد في إفريقيا.
Based on a firm conviction that the economy forms the cornerstone of building solid and sustainable international relations, the Algerian-Slovenian Business Forum served as a vital platform for exchanging visions on investment opportunities and as a valuable occasion for economic actors from both countries to meet.
أنا التزمت مع فخامة رئيسة سلوفينيا أن الحجم هذا تاع التبادلات لم يبقى مثل ما هو والارتكاز عليكم أنتم.
Today, the economy needs immediate mechanisms and decisions. As Slovenia will be on a fast and urgent track, we hope that Slovenia will be given priority.
With these words, Slovenia expressed its desire to open immediate partnership, seeing Algeria as a promising economic and investment power.
ما يقارب 13,000 مشروع استثماري مطروح اليوم على مستوى لابي. إذن طموحنا كبير، طموح الجزائريين والجزائريات كبير في التنمية.
There are other sectors offering great cooperation opportunities, such as energy, the transition to renewable energy, the pharmaceutical industry, biotechnology, as well as food industries, tourism, and opening new horizons in the field of transportation.
This economic momentum materialized in a joint declaration between Algeria and Slovenia, crowned by the signing of a set of agreements and memoranda of understanding concerning cooperation in vital sectors. These include the establishment of a mechanism for political consultations, police cooperation, maritime transport, and peaceful space activities, in addition to MOUs in the fields of trade, industry, investment, and energy. These developments underscore the strong political will of both countries to deepen bilateral cooperation.
نسير إلى أبعد بعد ما يمكن في التعاون في كل القطاعات بدون استثناء، حتى في التعاون الطبي، في التعاون الصيدلاني، في التعاون الذكاء الاصطناعي، في التعاون في الفضاء، في التعاون في تطهير المياه.
These agreements signed on the occasion of the visit of the President of the Algerian Republic, President Abdelmajid Tebboune, are exemplary for many European countries.
Algeria and Slovenia are opening a new chapter titled Effective Partnership, where ambitions converge and wills are embodied in tangible projects that benefit both countries and peoples.
Two other developments where the Premier Nadir Al-Arabawi presided over a government meeting devoted to the examination of ways to reinforce the measures taken in regard to the modernization of the public administration, in addition to the simplification and improvement of administrative procedures through the digitization process in implementation of the directives of the President of the Republic. In the same setting, the government also examined the draft executive decree establishing the national mechanism for supporting human trafficking victims. Additionally, in the framework of the follow-up of the implementation of the Garaj Bilet mining project decided by the head of state, notably in the aspect related to transport infrastructure and mining products, the government examined the draft executive decree on a declaration of the operation related to the construction of the Hassim Souk Mustaganem rail link to be of public utility. Lastly, the government listened to a presentation on the conditions of the launch of the first flight of the pilgrims to the holy sites and the preparations made to receive and accompany them during the performance of the rituals. The various measures and procedures currently being implemented were also reviewed to ensure an optimal reception for members of the Algerian community abroad during the summer season. The Secretary of State, the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of the community abroad, Sofian Shaib, received the President of the Parliamentary Group for the Friendship between Algeria and Iran in the Islamic Majlis al-Shura, Hassan Qashqawi. The meeting was an opportunity to review the state of cooperation, relations, and the parliamentary diplomacy, and for an exchange of views on regional and international dossiers of common interest, topped by the Palestinian issue. On to the operational report of the People's National Army's activity in the past week. In the context of the fight against terrorism, thanks to the efforts of units of the PNA, the terrorist named bin Mukhtari Musa, also known as Abu Yassin, surrendered to the military authorities of Burj Mukhtar in the 6th military region, possession of 4 guns, a quantity of ammunition and other items, while other detachments of the PNA arrested 9 support elements to terrorist groups in different operations across the national territory. In the framework of the fight against organized crime, the continuation of the tireless efforts aimed at countering the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the PNA intercepted in coordination with the different security services in operations across the military regions 50 drug traffickers and averted attempts to introduce 2 quintals and 80 kilograms of processed key through the borders with Morocco, while 1.86 kilograms of cocaine and over 214,000 psychotropic tablets were seized. There are separate operations across the military regions. In Tamnaras, Burj Mukhtar, in Salah and Janet, detachments of the People's National Army arrested 270 individuals and seized 33 vehicles, 250 generators, 124 jackhammers, 2 metal detectors, as well as quantities of mixture of raw gold and stones, explosives, detonation tools, and other equipment used in illegal gold mining operations. On the other hand, 14 other individuals were arrested, 1 automatic pistol, 11 hunting rifles, and over 78,000 liters of fuel, as well as 60 quintals of tobacco and 17.2 tons of foodstuffs intended for smuggling and speculation were seized during separate operations. Similarly, border guards sorted at the level of our national coast attempts at illegal immigration and proceeded to save 203 individuals aboard traditionally made boats, while 1,049 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested across the national territory. That's the end of the communique. In the international window of the night, horror scenes continue in Gaza as the Zionist forces issue forced evacuation orders from Al-Shifa hospital, while at least 84 victims were recorded on Wednesday, as the total death toll soars to over 52,000 martyrs and over 119,000 wounded. During the United Nations Security Council session on the situation in the Middle East, Algeria renewed its call for an immediate end to the Zionist aggression against Gaza Strip and for the total lifting of the blockade imposed on the enclave. Tawfiq Widri, who is a member of the Algerian delegation, underlined that the blockade constitutes a violation of international laws and resulted in a grave humanitarian crisis. On the ground, it is indeed a crisis beyond words. For the first time, a senior UN official has called the situation in Gaza genocide. Tom Fletcher condemned it as unbearable. Hospitals shut down, no medicine, and 8 trucks blocked. Gaza now stands on the brink of famine. Menan Maafa once again.
Briefing you again. Death, injury, destruction, hunger, disease, torture, other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment, repeated displacement on a large scale. We have described the deliberate obstruction of aid operations and the systematic dismantling of Palestinian life and that which sustains it in Gaza. So you have that information. And now the ICJ is considering whether a genocide is taking place in Gaza. It will weigh the testimony that we have shared, but it will be too late. Recognizing the urgency, the ICJ has indicated clear provisional measures that must be implemented now.
The word genocide was finally spoken at the United Nations Security Council, and the one who said it was Tom Fletcher, the UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs.
Before starting, I ask you to reflect for a moment on what action we will tell future generations.
This marks an unprecedented shift. For the first time, the UN has used the term genocide to describe the situation in Gaza. For over 10 weeks, no humanitarian aid has entered the enclave, no food or medical trucks, despite 12 rounds of talks between the UN and the Zionist authorities. Hospitals have collapsed, supplies are exhausted, and the population faces a major risk of famine. The UN humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher, has called the situation inhumane.
Deliberately and unashamedly imposing inhumane conditions on civilians in the occupied Palestinian territory. For more than 10 weeks, nothing has entered Gaza, no food, medicine, water or tents. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have again been forcibly displaced and confined into ever-shrinking spaces, as 70% of Gaza's territory is either within Israeli militarized zones or under displacement orders.
In response to the deadlock, a new aid delivery system is under discussion. However, according to the UN, the proposed mechanism would exclude large portion of the vulnerable population, particularly women, children and the elderly. The UN official has also condemned the use of humanitarian aid as a political and wartime tool.
It sets an unacceptable precedent for aid delivery, not just in the OPT, but around the world. It restricts aid to only one part of Gaza, while leaving other dire needs unmet. It makes aid conditional on political and military aims. It makes starvation a bargaining chip. It is a cynical sideshow, a deliberate distraction, a fig leaf for further violence and displacement.
To date, no agreement has succeeded in reopening humanitarian access to the Gaza Strip. According to the UN, each additional day of blockade worsens an already catastrophic situation.
Mali faces deepening authoritarian rule as the junta dissolves political parties and dismantles democratic structures amid growing calls for change. Assimi Goïta aims to stay in power for a renewable 5-year term without elections. Minister Lila Baraman, Badia Amarani have more to say.
Mali is at a standstill and the crisis is deepening. In the past 24 hours, 2 opposition figures have gone missing while organizing a political rally in Bamako. Even more alarming, the country is now caught in a wave of party dissolutions. Legal experts have condemned the junta's repeal of the political party's charter as a constitutional coup and a betrayal of democracy. It is all martial. I don't think we have reached a state of lawlessness yet, but the military regime in Bamako is moving methodically. First, they suspended all political activities. Then they violated the laws protecting the legal framework and opposition. Yesterday and today, decrees were issued. First, repealing that framework, then dissolving political parties. With parties dissolved and the framework gone, no one can express political views, organize public events, or affiliate with political or civil society groups.
Dans la foulée, le décret de dissolution des partis politiques est intervenu.
At a time when calls are growing to end transition and restore democratic political life, Assimi Goïta is seeking to remain in power with a 5-year presidential term, renewable and without elections.
D'un point de vue constitutionnel,
constitutionally, Article 39 guarantees political parties and refers to a law that governs them. That law has now been repealed. This not only removes the legal foundation for parties, but also violates the principle of preserving multi-party democracy, which exists to ensure electoral competition.
Du multipartisme dans notre pays, qui a vocation justement à concourir au suffrage.
As a reminder, the ruling junta dissolved all political parties and organizations with political affiliations through a presidential decree read on state television, a move long feared by the opposition. This decision has now plunged Mali into unprecedented chaos.
With that, we end tonight's bulletin. Thank you for watching. Take care.